Hello, everyone. My name is Mirna, and on behalf of the Mindalia TV team, welcome to Mindalia live streaming, where thousands of people around the world gather daily to see the lectures and interviews organized by Mindalia TV. Today, with us, Angel Rebo, CEO consultant, TV host, international public speaker, and president of the Wisdom for Kids Foundation, is co hosting with Dan Blanchard. Dan is a best selling and award winning author, speaker, and educator. Before starting with them, we want to remind you that Mindalia's mission is to share information that can help raise the level of consciousness around the world, and you can help us by subscribing to our channel, leaving us a positive comment down this video, or sharing it with someone that you know that is going to benefit of the content that we're going to be talking about here today. Also, while we are live streaming, like right now, we have the active chat, the screen that you're going to be seeing here on my side or under the video in case that you're following us from a smartphone. And through there, you can interact with us. We just please ask you that for questions, you put the word question in caps before the actual question. We want you also to collaborate with Mindalia with your own valuable content. And for that, you can go to our website. On the top, you're going to find a link that says Collaborate with Mindalia. That link is going to take you to a form that you can fill out for our technical team to be getting in contact with you. Last but not least, visit our different platforms and pages. You can collaborate with Mindalia in 3 different languages. You can do it in English through Mindalia TV, as you already know, Spanish through Mindalia Televisión, and Portuguese through Mindalia Televisão. Visit our platforms, visit our Facebook pages, Instagram accounts, find out all the content that is being shared there daily, and be updated with the newest releases. We're not going to be delaying this any further, and I'm going to leave you with Dan, with Angel, and with a very special guest that we're going to be having today, Mr. Tom Frederick. Guys, welcome to Mindalia live streaming. The screen is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mirna, for the introduction. Dan, welcome back. How are you?
Wonderful, Angel. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. Glad to be here with you. Absolutely. So we have another extraordinary guest today.
Yes, we do, Angel. His name is Tom Frederick. He's become a friend of mine. And let me tell you, this guy goes the extra mile. I'm saying this is what we all need in our lives, people that go the extra mile. Tom drove up from New Jersey all the way to Connecticut to have a cup of coffee with me. And we talked all about a project. That's about 4 hours, I'm guessing. Maybe Tom can be more accurate if he wants to. But to have a cup of coffee with me to talk about a wonderful project that he's doing. And he's actually doing 2 projects. One is he's starting this blog that's going to give our youth very valuable information of what careers are like. So he's going to get people like me to get on there and talk about what life like a teacher's like, and he'll get a whole bunch of other people to get on there and talk about, what is your career like? What is a day in your life like? So our kids can have a lot of great information, be able to make better decisions, be better informed, and hopefully get into careers that are better suited for them, rather than throwing a lot of money away, going down a road, maybe getting a degree that they shouldn't have gotten, started a job they shouldn't have gotten, So, what Tom, I think, is doing is very valuable. Another big project he has that he just recently finished a book. So Tom is an author. He's got a great book out there called Distraction. And he's, yeah, exactly. Thumbs up, Tom. And he's doing a whole bunch of other great things as well. Tom, welcome to the show. Can you fill our audience in a little bit on some of the things I missed, or maybe expand upon what I talked about?
No, thank you very much for having me on the show. This is really, I'm the one who feels privileged. This is a great opportunity to talk about some projects that are really near and dear to my heart. To what you said about kids that are they're walking up to graduation day, or it's after graduation, they still aren't sure what they want to do, and it's no reflection on their intelligence, their passion, their talents. Has nothing to do with that. It's we're asking kids in junior year high school to make a career choice, something that's going to affect the rest of their lives. Where do you want to go to college? What do you want to specialize in?
Oh yeah.
And if you take a dozen high school kids and have them sit down and say, can you just describe 2 jobs for me? What do those jobs do? What do those people do all day long? They'd be very hard pressed to do it. Again, no fault of their own. That's just how how life is. You're very busy with what you're doing. So my own son had his roommate, senior year, second semester, finally did his student teaching to be a math teacher, came out of that experience and said, I really don't want to do this for the rest of my life. The poor kid. So my inspiration here is really to provide a very large library of all kinds of jobs and what those jobs really entail day in and day out. And the idea is to have it searchable by, I like to work inside, I like to work outside, I like working with numbers, I like working creatively, I like working structured, whatever it is. And by doing that search, up would come, here's a dozen jobs that align with what your interests are. Now you listen to those interviews, have people really describe their day and their life. And now you get a little better idea of, oh, that sounds really interesting. Or no, I would never want to do that every day. Whatever it is, at least we're giving them some more information so they can make a little better choice, a little more informed choice about what do I want to do for the rest of my life. So that was really the driving force behind that. And if I could add one more thing, yep. I know someone who is she was a police officer for 20 years. And obviously in that role, you're rolling up to all kinds of, difficult situations. But she was very good at it. She was very good at calming people down. She's now going back for her second career, learning to be a counselor, and she's doing fantastic. She is on fire for her education.
Good for her.
There's no reason in God's green earth why we can't get a high school kid just as excited. She's excited because she knows what she wants to do and why she wants to do it. Why can't we plant that into high school kids simply by exposing them to more what a job is really like and let them explore that world more thoroughly?
I'm so happy that you're doing that, Tom. I don't know if I've shared this with you before or not, but I remember when I was 16 years old and, my guidance counselor came to me asking me what I wanted to do. And I told him a couple of times I didn't know. He came to me maybe a third or fourth time and he was almost like trying to intimidate me to give him an answer. Like, you better know, you better tell me, what you want. I'm like, hey, I'm 16 years old. I don't know. Oh my gosh. And I felt like an idiot because I didn't know, which I'm not, as you know, Tom. And then I think back maybe about 16 years later, so now I'm 32, I'm a teacher and I'm watching some of my students go through it. Like, what do you want to be and all that, you got to pick a career for the rest of your life and all that. And there I am, I'm a teacher and I'm a coach and I'm trying to help these kids. And I got to tell you, Tom, in the back of my mind, and I really could have used what you're offering because in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, gosh, I don't know if I still don't know if I'm sure what I want to do, with the rest of my life, right? So
right.
Now if you're a human being, another 16 years go by and I'm 48 years old, now I'm 49, just turned 49, but and I'm watching my students still going through those similar things. Only once in a while does a kid come out and tell me that he knows exactly what he wants to do. The others are so unsure of what they want to do. And Tom, I feel like I'm doing it all over again in the back of my mind because all sorts of cool things have happened to me over the last, let's say, decade, becoming an author, speaker, blogger, international Collins bestseller, and now co-TV host with Angel Rebo. In the back of my mind, I'm going, geez, what other cool things could be out there? What is my future going to hold? I still don't know what I'm going to do with the rest of my life. You know what I'm saying? So it seems to me it's like a broken record of my life that just keeps playing over and over and over. But the soundtrack is getting better because now I'm way more skilled and way more knowledgeable and way more experienced. And I know the things that in my life are better and better and better that are coming versus when you're 16, you're scared. You don't know. When someone's in your face saying, you better tell me what you want to do, I think we're doing the kids a disservice by doing that. And I'm even seeing today, if I continue for another second, I'm bringing my daughter, I've brought it to about a dozen college stores. And I'm seeing over and over and over that the colleges are saying, listen, a lot more of our kids are picking undecided now. So it's okay. Because my daughter is undecided. And the colleges are saying, don't worry about it. So, Tom, I think that it's very timely, the project that you're trying to get off the ground and the knowledge you're trying to get these kids. And I think it's going to be great for them. And if I could just throw out one question to you, do you still know, Tom, what you want to do with the rest of your life? Or Angel, what about you?
Go ahead.
Well, for me, it's like I'm 58, and now I decided to write a book, and now I'm deciding to do the podcast. I think it's that we look for things in our lives that motivate us, And it's, if I can tie in the book just for a second, the book is really touching on a common issue between these two things, which is the capacity of the kid is not the problem. How smart the kids are not the problem. It's what are you focusing attention on? How are you spending your time? And are you getting exposed to things that are truly valuable to enriching your life and giving you direction? So the book Distraction, one of the stats, it's kind of scary that is pointed out, is that we are now to the point that approximately 20% of college freshmen require remedial assistance in math and English. Of business leaders that are being interviewed about college graduates, only 14% believe that college graduates are ready for work, either in the right attitude about work or having a proficiency in a subject that's worth paying for. This has nothing to do with the capacity of the student, because in that same high school class, you have kids that are on the honor roll, they're in the musicals, they're playing in the band, they're doing side projects, they're in community organizations. They've made a choice on how to spend their time. So distraction is really about what are we doing? What are we allowing to fill up our day? And especially in the high school years when there's such capacity for learning and there's such eagerness to learn. If we can just harness that a little bit and get kids and adults too, to stand back just far enough to say, what the heck am I doing with my time? One of the other stats I found was, if you're between 18 and 35 in America, you're probably spending 5 hours in front of a screen, a TV screen. More if you're talking about kids and electronic screens. There's got to be something more productive. There's nothing wrong with a video game or playing this or watching a show or whatever, but it's a matter of balance. How are we balancing our time? So I'm tying these things together in the sense that, and if anyone's curious about the book, look it up under T.J. Prosit, P-R-O-S-I-T, because if you look under distraction, you won't find it. There's 2,000 listings of books with the word distraction in it. So that'd be the way to look it up. And prosit is, if I just explain that, it's a Latin word that means may you benefit from this. And that's the purpose of this project. If I can help just a handful of kids just to say, wait a minute, what the heck am I doing in my life? And now I have a better idea. Now that I've learned about these careers, now we understand better what that really means to do that job. And now I'm excited. So, but I am curious about Angel, about what was your path to get to where you are?
Well, that's a great question. I have to say that, when you were talking, several things came to my mind. Number one, being the father of three, one just graduated high school. The other two are still in elementary. Obviously, what you are developing is just outstanding. It should be funded immediately in the millions, because this is gonna impact big time society in general. Again, even myself, I picked computer engineering because I like programming computers in high school, and after my second semester, I said, and in Spain, I'm originally from Barcelona, and in Spain, we had these 5-year degrees with 2 semesters every year. So it means that I still had 8 more semesters to go through the entire computer engineering degree, knowing already that wasn't my thing. I was always working in high tech, but never coding. I mean, nothing close to what I thought it was going to be. But it is what it is. But fast forward to today, I would have never said that I would be sitting down interviewing amazing people with Dan Blanchard. It's impossible. and maybe what's the ingredient? And that's one of the questions I wanted to ask you, if I may, Tom, is surrendering, opening to possibilities. I think that, and I think that, we have to do so much more about that, on this, on, whatever it is that you do is good. Whatever it is that you think is good, and you don't have to have the approval of anybody to do it. And if you want to paint, or if you want to sing, or if you want to do wrestling, then okay, exactly. It's all perfect. It's perfect. It's exactly that passion. It doesn't matter if you find your passion at 20 or at 60. And so that's why I'm going to buy your book immediately, Tom. Let me tell you that. But what do you think about this ingredient of surrendering, of allowing yourself to just be, without expecting or without having to satisfy anybody else but yourself?
Well, I think it's a very, very important point, and I think it has to be married with letting go of that voice in your head of being afraid to fail. There is no failure, really. There's either you succeeded or you learned. So if you first, let's let go of that voice, because it doesn't matter. And now surrendering yourself to where is your heart telling you, where is your heart pulling you? And in the book, I talk about if I took 100 kids from anywhere in the globe, I don't care where they're from, you expose them to encouragement, to the arts, to science, to writing, and all the talents we need to run a culture, society, they're all there. It's only a matter of exposure and encouragement and providing the resources. So if we think about that, the people that are right there, right around us, in our families, in our homes, in our neighborhoods, those are those people too. Let's give them encouragement, give them the resources, guide them like Dan does every day. I mean, that's as we all know, that's one of the most important jobs in the world is a teacher. And I will tell you from the people I've interviewed so far, how many of them talk about a teacher that made such a difference in their life. And could I share a short story about motivational teachers?
Yes,
okay. Well, there's a wonderful study that was done, and it was, I believe I have my facts correct. It was, I believe, a Princeton study. And they asked the students in a sociology course to make an estimation on how these young boys, this was done 30, 40 years ago, in the inner city Trenton school, about where they would be 25 years hence. And they basically said, well, you know, it's a very difficult neighborhood. There's probably going to be a high level of people that have had problems with the law, they have drug problems, or probably a lot of, you know, single parents, et cetera. And then they said, okay, fine. So they put that in a time capsule, so to speak, and they followed up 25 years later. And almost to a boy, it was a class of about 40. They were able to get contact with almost all of them, and they were all doing great except maybe two. Great jobs, families, satisfied lives, et cetera. And how could we have been so wrong? So they went back and they figured out what were the biggest commonalities between these boys. And it was a boys' school. And they found a teacher that all of them had for about 4 years. They all shared that one same teacher. And they found that teacher. And they said, what was your secret? You know, they told her about the study. And she said, I don't know. I just love those boys.
Yes.
And that was the secret. The boys knew she was more interested in their success than in hers. She was excited about what they could do with their lives, not about where her teacher career was going, not about becoming part of the board or whatever. She cared about them. And those boys didn't want to disappoint her because now they believed in themselves too. So it's all this is tied together. You know, it's us caring about our kids enough to say, hey, how about we kind of mix up your time a little bit? Let's go do a community project. How about spend a little more time on I'll help you study, whatever. And then as far as, you know, helping kids, how do you choose your career better? Well, here's a resource for you. Let's help you find that. So I hope that answers your question, Angel.
Oh my God, big time. And you were talking about Dan here. When you were talking about that, I mean, I've heard Dan explaining the story that he genuinely loves his students. And it's so much needed. Again, as a father, just as a father, maybe I have younger kids than you two. Oh my God, I would always tell to the teachers when I had parent conferences all the time. The only thing I care about is that you love my kids. I don't mind if they fail, they go under 70, right? I don't mind really, and there's no punishment, and there's no. I mean, here at home, if one of my kids comes with a 60, with a 50, with a 30. There's nothing. There's no consequence. It's just I just want the teachers to love them, really. So,
Right.
So Dan, please go ahead.
So Angel, I think Tom might have been watching our last show when we were talking about how we can't be too manly to let our youth know that we love them. You know, that's what they need. They need that love. And Tom, I know that story. I'm familiar with that story too, and I love that story because it makes all the difference in the world about how any teacher, if I remember the story correctly, there was a little elderly woman who they tracked down many years later, and she just said, I just loved all my students. But, you know, it doesn't have to be just her or just me or just anybody. It could be all of us, like, you know, Angel's kids teachers. All of us can just love our students. And I like, Tom, what you said earlier about the kids' capacity. I love how you say it's not the kids' capacity. They have an enormous capacity for certain things that they choose, things that they focus on. And there's so often that I'm like looking out in my classroom, you know, just on the door and my students looking at my classroom. And I'm like, but we're dropping the ball somewhere. I'm like, there's got to be a better model. Because, I think I do a very good job with my students. And there's so many hardworking teachers, that are likable and do very, very well with their students. But you still see students not living up to their true potential. You still see students not excited about being in school. You still see students that are reluctant learners, and some are just outright oppositional. And that should not be happening. You talked earlier, Tom, about that police officer. That was a wonderful police officer, and that led right into the social work where, he was all pumped up, or she was all pumped up about the social work and excited about learning. And I agree with you. There's got to be a way to get our kids excited about learning. And maybe if they follow your program, Tom, and your program is funded across schools, and we really do a great job pushing it through podcasts and what other means we can push it through, maybe eventually tomorrow's kids might surrender themselves and decide, which is the Latin word of decide, which means to make to cut yourself off from other choices, the D and the side, cut yourself off from other choices. You surrender, you decide, this is what I'm going to do. You're pumped up about it, and you're going to go for it 100%, like that future social worker's doing. I mean, there's got to be a way. There's got to be a better system than what we're presently doing to get our kids excited about school. And when I'm talking to them, I pull out pictures of kids 100 years ago in factories that are missing fingers, that are having a hard time breathing, that are dirty, that are underweight, that are malnourished. I show them, I said, listen, if you kids lived 100 years ago, this would probably be your life. I go, you think school is hard? School's not hard. Working in those factories 100 years ago was hard. You know what I'm saying? You think school's dangerous because you're in the inner city schools? It's not dangerous compared to the factories 100 years ago. Those were dangerous. So I'm like, you guys have got it made in some ways that the kids 100 years ago could only dream of. And yet, we're still dropping the ball because the kids are utterly distracted. They're not focused, and they're not making the best use of their time, or the best use of our tax dollars, when we're trying to help. So we got to do something to make sure our tax dollars are used better for all involved and get the kids excited. Tom, I'm excited about what, the direction you're going with helping kids understand, better with what they may want in life. Because I think that's probably the first step. What's in it for me, right? What do they want in life?
Right.
And I think you're going down the right road with that, Tom.
Well, I think it's a matter of connecting the dots. I think that it's hard for I think there's an element in education that unfortunately drills home the idea of your goal here is to pass the test. And that's different than I want you to understand the world. I want you to understand how math works. I want you to understand how to write. I want you to understand what great authors thought. I want you to understand how history is an ebb and flow of the same things back and forth. And if you don't know history, you're doomed to repeat it, as we all know that old saying. But it's connecting the dots between the life you would like to have is a function of understanding how the world works. And if you can't connect the dots for the kids, they can't relate to why do I need to know this particular subject? Why do I need to know how to write a cohesive sentence? And even today, I will tell you that it's not an uncommon thing where you see in business communication, in a corporate letter, poor use of grammar. You say,
oh yeah.
And those kind of things can create significant misunderstandings if you don't know how to write clearly. So not to get too far down that road, but it's the point of connecting the life that you would like to have, the knowledge base that's so helpful you to have if you want that life. And now let's expose you. So what would that life look like? Where do you see yourself? What could you be really excited about doing? And one thing I wanted to add here within the educational system, there is dignity in all work, no matter what you're doing. If you're doing something productive, it helps a community to live and thrive. That's good, honest work. And we shouldn't be treating the tech programs and the VOTech programs as, well, you're not smart enough for college, we'll do that. No. I want a kid who's excited about working with their hands. By God, let them work with their hands. If they love the whole idea of plumbing and running their own business or being an electrician or whatever it is, I make this analogy that if you have someone, and I'm not disparaging college at all, I'm just saying options. The person who's sitting at that podium explaining to how wonderful the university system is and how important college is, and you all have to go, they're standing in a room in front of a podium that was built by a carpenter and a room that was put together by craftspeople.
Yes.
That's being maintained by janitors, that
Yes.
has a heating system that was put in by a plumber. You can't make that speech without all these other services and support structures.
Yes.
People need to do those jobs. Try to find a plumber on a Thursday afternoon if you got a problem. Not only are there good jobs, there's not enough people doing it. So I think we have to add that element in there to say, this is not an also-ran solution for your career. You want to be a plumber? Be a great plumber. You want to be an electrician? Be a great electrician. And just following that theme along. So it is a matter of also sometimes those kids who just don't relate is because they would love to be out in the shop fixing an engine. Well, let's help them do that and just do it really well.
I so agree with you, Tom. And I know about a decade ago or so, it was breaking my heart when I was seeing the road that education was going down. They were axing those shops, wood shop, metals, auto shop. You know, they were getting rid of all of those trades. And, you know, the typical high schools were, and it was killing me that they were doing that. And whenever I would question somebody, you know, like the president of the Board of Education in various cities, I would question them and they would say, hey, you know, the money's tight. We need our biggest bang for the buck, you know, and, you know, these kids, they can go, you know, we're going to put all of our money into college bound. And when they get in college, then they, you know, in college, they can study woods and metals and auto. And I'm shaking my head going, are you kidding me? What? I was shocked at the absurdity of them saying the biggest bang of the buck was to put every kid in college where there they could study woods, you know, in college, where they would study it at a higher degree of sophistication, you know, in college, and maybe use bigger vocabulary words, you know, in the metals or the auto repair. And I was just like, wow, were we missing the mark? I said, I don't know who's up top that's coming up with this crazy stuff, but somebody's just trying to prove that they matter. And they're coming up with some crazy stuff that is hurting our students. And I'll tell you now, it's like been almost a generation, go over a decade, and it absolutely has hurt our kids. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That educational movement was wrong. I was so against it. I can't believe that the people up top couldn't see through that. Well, that's, I'm with you 100%, Tom. No, but the other thing, no, on the other side of the coin, I'm a history teacher. You know, I'm a big fan of the founders of this country, the framers of our Constitution, Thomas Jefferson's University of Virginia, and their need for a broad liberal arts education. Now, do you see any challenges that are too steep to climb when you try to combine what you're doing, Tom, with helping them, you know, be better informed on certain careers, find their niche, find their path, but at the same time, give them more worldly knowledge and more of a, let's say, a liberal arts degree, or not degree, maybe not degree, but at least a liberal arts education in the mix somewhere?
Well, actually, I'm glad you asked that question because of the interviews that I've done, I usually ask them, let's walk back. What was your educational path? And what have you found was actually more valuable to you now than you realized at the time? And people do talk about history, the arts, the theater program they participated in, the band they participated in, you know, community project they participated in. It's this richness of education, of having a broader experience and understanding how the world works. Some of these people, it's interesting that in some of these interviews, it's while I'm talking to them, does a light bulb go off, say, oh, you know what, I didn't put that together. But now that I think about it, that class I had about that particular subject, that really made a difference. That set me on the path that I'm on now. But, you know, I think we need to embrace the idea of the love of learning, just to understand the world. And that's up to as you know, Dan, this is up to the teachers to inculcate. I mean, philosophy is the love of learning, right? That's the technical definition, right?
Yeah.
So to not treat these subjects as bitter pills we have to swallow, but it's a privilege. It's what you said before. You think about some kids around the world who would give their eye teeth for the chance to sit in a classroom and
Yeah.
learn and understand. And and we have kids here because the ease of access, it's like familiarity breeds contempt, as we know the old saying goes. The ease of access can maybe make it seem like it's less valuable than it is. And I think that's just a matter of teachers being energized about having that love of teaching and desiring the best for their kids. That's a much bigger, more complex issue that you know much more about than I. But that would be my sense of what are some of the fixes, is things like that.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up, Tom, because 100 years ago in this country is today in many places around the world where exactly what you said, there are kids that would do anything to get out of those mines, you know, those factories or wherever else they are, and get into an American school system or just even a school system in their own country. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely.
Right.
And I got to tell you, now going back to what you were saying about college, I mean, I got 14 years of college and 7 degrees. And what I have found most valuable in my life is the vast and broad reading that I've done. I've read over 1,000 books, and the extraordinary and the vast different types of people that I've spoken to over the years, I think have been probably the most valuable thing in my life, way more valuable than my 7 university degrees. And if I can jump over to you, Angel, I know you do a lot of entrepreneur stuff over there with the Latin American children, but do you in any way try to throw in the broader liberal arts, deeper, I mean, you know, broader learning, worldly learning in there? And has it like been a challenge for you?
Well, I wish that was the case. And when you were, now that you were talking about, wisdom for kids in Latin America, we help kids in Latin America and underprivileged areas to become entrepreneurs. And when we were deciding what to do, the first engagement with those kids, actually the first thing that we thought about was, regardless of what they decide to do with their lives, because they live in a very, very underprivileged area, it's going to be good. So actually, to increase self-esteem, to your point, Tom, we ask them, what would you like to do when you grow up, as one of the first exercises we do with them, because we want to make sure that whatever they do, they feel reinforced that it's the right choice for them. And
Right,
because
right.
obviously they will want to be, we talk about, underprivileged places, so they want to be maybe teachers or nurses or doctors. Nobody says engineers because there's no engineers. Engineer is such a complex concept there, but it's very important to reinforce that whatever path they take, it's good. But as you said, I definitely see those places like probably the US was or Europe was 100 years ago, if not more. Yes, I mean the priorities there are just kids have to be in some places. Kids have to be somewhere while their parents work. I mean, period. It's like I have a lot of stories of kind of schools in places that are like evening schools. So they start like at 3, from 3 till 8 or 9, and it's because their moms, they just or their parents, typically it's moms, they have double shift and they cannot be there to pick them up in the morning. So in the morning they spend the entire morning like literally watching TV or maybe playing with some neighbor, and then the mom leaves very early for work, so they still sleep sometime. And in the evening the mom has a second shift, and it's like it's a place where the love of the teachers is the most important factor. It's the most important factor. Because even there are situations in which even the teachers, they pay the salary of additional teachers so they can cope with the entire community of kids. This is the environment where I go and teach kids to be entrepreneurs. So when you talk about arts, and I mean, I would love to see that in there, because this obviously opens their minds and they're, oh, I can do this, and I can be, I can make a career out of this, and this is and this is fun actually, because I love when I sing with my teacher or with my mom, whatever that is, or even sports. I mean, I'm really lucky. The other day in one of the in indigenous community, they asked me to be the goalkeeper for a penalty kick competition. So
Fun.
so that was fun, and it was Thank God we know what soccer is in Spain. Otherwise, I would have been, yeah. But I mean, the kids had a blast. You know, these gentlemen coming from I don't know where, speaking those languages, and he comes here and he's able to, you know, to stop some kicks, and the kids were so super excited. You know, again, it's the matter of it's the love. You know, it's the love. And I wanted to ask you a question, Tom, because distraction is so present. I see distraction in our schools so much, with our youth so much, and I think that our kids today, all the kids, all grades in the school today in the U.S., they have a different perspective, completely different perspective. Their lives have different perspectives to ours. So, how do you see that relationship between the distraction and the perspective they have in their lives? Because obviously, the distraction determines everything for their future.
Well, the thing is, it's understanding the consequences of distraction and what it's keeping you from. And when we realize that, you know, if you were to say, for example, if someone just thinks to themselves, wait a minute, and a tool I present in the book is, if you have 3 cups, one is myself, and we need to develop ourselves. We need our self-development time, quiet time, our families, people that we're directly in, that we're responsible for, and our community. And if through the course of a week, a month, 6 months, I don't care whether it's a sunflower seed, a penny, I don't care what it is. For every hour you spend on one of those, you put it in the cup. And if over the course of a week, a month, 6 months, the me cup is overflowing, there's no room anymore, the community cup is empty, that should be enough to self-reflect and say, but I know my community keep asking me, can you help with the food drive? Can you help with volunteer with this project? Can you help, volunteering to keep, help kids read or something? That it'll be self-reflective enough to say, I have some responsibilities here, because it's that knitting together of communities where we all pitch in. That's how communities work, because everyone's giving a little. No one has to give everything, but everyone has to give some. And if you just simply do that, suddenly all the labor becomes so much easier. Like, 100 hands makes light work, as the old saying goes. So as far as how distraction, it kind of connects the dots is, for someone to realize, I'm letting this thing stand in the way of me really developing to be really reach my potential. I'm letting this get in the way. Why am I doing that? I'm playing video games for 6 hours in my basement on the weekend instead of getting outside, getting some fresh air, participating in a community event, practice my oboe or whatever, do something to enrich yourself that will last for years to come. And if I could just add one thing, what you said about the arts and music, and whether it's chorus or bands, whatever it is, I think this has a unique place within the school experience where everybody on the stage and everyone in the audience is on a common foothold. We all are experiencing it for the same benefit. No one's competing, but we all need to participate for it to have the desired effect. So in other words, the sports has a place because the world is competition. We understand that. But it holds a unique place to have like the arts and performance where we're all there together. The audience wants to enjoy it. The band wants to present it, and at the end of it, everyone claps and everyone's happy for the same reason. And that sense, that I think is one of the many things that helps bring communities and schools together, is no one's acing anybody out. You're all just there to contribute in your own unique way. And the drums compete differently than the trumpets different than the violins different than the vibes. You all have your place, but when it's all together, what a beautiful, and I'm saying this with extreme bias. All 3 of my kids are musical, and I've enjoyed many, many wonderful concerts over the years that they performed in. With one of my son's a jazz guy, he's vibes. My oldest daughter is a violinist, and we've seen some just outstanding performances. But that to me is what struck me with all of those, is everyone walks out smiling. Nobody's upset. Everybody's happy. Everyone's so glad it came off so well, and everyone can feel proud that they contributed. So I just wanted to knit that together, and I'm sorry if that took us off track a little bit.
Beautiful.
I'm so with you. It's the fabric of society, right? The music represents the fabric of society. And
Well, I'm sorry, I just want to jump in. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just want to interject one thing on that. My oldest daughter, she just got her degree, her master's in music therapy. And what you said about the fabric of society, I just want to quick jump in so maybe I didn't forget. Music is a part of every culture throughout all of history. There's something very natural and visceral about music. So using music as a mode of therapy it's relatively new, but it's very, very effective. But getting back to your point, like it is something that really binds communities together in so many different ways. But I apologize for the interruption. I just wanted to make sure I made that point.
That was a valuable point. I'm glad you jumped in, Tom. So, I mean, Tom, I read your book, Distraction, and as I was going through it, I read it very closely. And I constantly found myself saying, wow, that was a good point. I mean, Tom was right on with this one, and again and again and again, I said, that was a good point. And you just, you wrote it in such a way that it was just so clear and simple that you couldn't help but get what it was saying. It was like it was hitting you over the head, and I wrote an Amazon book review for it. I liked it so much, but I'm wondering, like, what led you to write that book about distraction? Was there something that built up to you writing that book, or was it like some major event that happened in your life?
I had a particularly rough bunch of years. And to me, what motivated me was realizing that we can let things overwhelm us, or we can really dig in and focus. And when I think that thought process of realizing, what our potential really is and what can get on our way of reaching that potential, that's what got the spark going. But the two, it may seem like disparate events, but the two things that started to crystallize it for me was this show that I talked about with the college professors and the business leaders. And then to see my oldest daughter, she was in a violin program when she was in high school. And it was everything from kids from 7th grade to high school seniors. And they performed down at Steinway Hall in Manhattan. This is their flagship store for the piano business, but it's a gorgeous facility. Not really a concert hall, but they have special shows there occasionally. So they had about 30 kids from the very special strings program perform with a young man who is this child prodigy on piano. And so they went through if you close your eyes, you had no idea you were listening to high school kids and grade school kids. It was absolutely fabulous. And when the show was over, they basically let the store open for the kids to wander around and take a look at pianos. Now, again, this was a strings program, and probably a third of those kids sat down at pianos and started playing more.
Great.
And now this is the fact that you can have these kids because they've made the decision to give up their free time to find out how good can they be. And one of the little things that the director of the strings program did for new students is, I don't know if you've ever seen an orchestra, there's like the pie shape, right? It's, everyone's got their sections in the half circle. And he would say to them, looking out to the kids, okay, everyone reach as high as you can. And the kids would go, He said, no, as high as you can. And they'd reach a little, and they had the bows and the violins in their hand, the high as you can. Yep. No, as high as you can. And they would stand up. Said, no, as high as you can. And a few kids would stand on their seats and then touch the ceiling. He said, so why didn't you do that the first time? Yeah. That's as high as you can. So these things struck with me that if the kids just are motivated and supported and given the opportunity to reach as high as they can, the sky's the limit. The sky's the limit. And they'll be so excited about their lives and what they can accomplish.
So agree with you, Tom. So I know, Angel, we're getting close toward the end of it.
Yeah, we are at the end, exactly. So I Tom, it's been an amazing conversation. Please tell everybody here at Mindalia TV, where can we find you?
You can find me at tjprosit@gmail.com. Again, that's tjprosit@gmail.com. And I also set up a webpage for the book, mydistractions.com. And again, if they're looking for the book, looking under TJ Prosit, not under distraction, it'll be hard to find the other way.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much for being with us today, Tom. What an amazing journey of yours. I love it. Thank you
very much.
Absolutely. And Dan, where can we find you?
Yeah, they can find me, Angel, at danblanchard.net or granddaddyseekers.com, or just Google me, Dan Blanchard, author, whatever, speaker, educator. You'll find me all over all the social media channels. Go on Amazon, you'll see me there. Check out The Storm, How Young Men Become Good Men, and then all my other books after that. All right, thanks, Angel.
Excellent, thank you. And again, thank you, Tom. Thank you, Dan, for being again and bringing an amazing host today. Excuse me, an amazing guest today. And this is Angel Reba with Mindalia TV. Thank you very much for being with us today. I hope that you enjoyed our conversation as much as we did in here. We hope to see you soon. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.